Welcome to Live Sense8. I'm Sheila Applegate.
And I'm Zac Hansen.
In this podcast, we dive deep into the concepts of consciousness and other interesting trivia in the Netflix original series Sense8. We're doing an episode-by-episode exploration of how we can live a Sense8 life. We're also throwing in some special episodes along the way with actors and crew and people who have contributed to the miracle of Sense8.
And this week's episode is brought to you by Denise Natishan, Teresa Halonen, and Divine Phoenix Books. Books with a purpose for a positive change.
In this segment, we talk about what's going on in the world of Sense8. We actually had a really big week. Sense8 won the March Madness for Netflix Life.
What a fun little contest.
That was really crazy fun. And we went up against Stranger Things, and people didn't expect us to win that side.
Self-included.
But you know what? Stranger Things, I think there's a lot of people that watch both and knew that it was maybe more helpful to vote for Sense8 or prefer Sense8. In my case, that would be, I like them both, but prefer Sense8. I also heard some pretty cool things that Sense8 or Stranger Things fans understood that Sense8 was trying to help promote the upcoming special and get attention and open up more possibilities. And so they teamed up and helped the vote.
Yeah, they thought it was it was a more impactful show, per se, on a human level than Stranger Things.
Yeah, and we got a lot of new interest in the series because of that, which is really fun and awesome. And then we went on, so Sense8 won the Netflix original side, and then
Against Orange Is the New Black.
Yeah.
And Stranger Things. And
a
few more.
Then they went on for the finals against a network television show, The Office, which has been on forever and is also globally known because it came from England. I mean, we had the American version that they were going up against, but it's got that international feel. And by just a hair, ended up winning that.
I did tell Sheila, I was like, Sheila, we need a miracle to win this thing, because we were down like 10,000 votes or something on Facebook. It was crazy when I checked. A miracle happened.
Yeah, well, I believe in miracles.
Me too.
Really cool thing about it is over 50,000 people voted. And so we have to remember that this was huge as far as, because a lot of people don't watch Sense8 because they don't know about it, because the marketing hasn't been there. So this was a great opportunity to get other people seeing it, to have people see the fan base and the camaraderie and the beauty that can come from that. So way to go, Sense8s. Way to represent. Let's keep that positive attitude going and show the world what the Sense8 vibration means. Following up, Netflix Life posted an article, Sense8 101, A Beginner's Guide to Netflix Series. And that's by Nita Armstrong. If you haven't seen that article, look it up and start posting it, because it's an excellent way to get new viewers. All right, let's get this show started. Our guest today is someone that has impacted your Sense8 experience, and you probably have more gratitude for him than you realize. We have today Ethan Stoller, who is a composer, producer, and music editor. He's worked on several projects with the Wachowskis, including Sense8, for which he is the music editor and additional composer. He also produced a couple of the series' iconic music moments, including the Bollywood remix from Season 1 and the Alleluia montage from Season 2 Holiday Special, Welcome, Ethan.
Hey, Ethan.
Hi,
welcome to the
thank you.
show. Thanks for
Nice
being
to be
here.
We are so excited to have you here today. And, you know, one of the things that I come to notice as we've been diving so deeply into this, I've never gone so deeply into a series like we have for this to really dissect it and look at all the tiny pieces, but we're really discovering what a masterpiece this is.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, we really are. It's incredibly the way everyone has put everything together, and the music plays a huge part of that. So this is really exciting to be able to bring you forward and have a dialogue with you about something that I think often gets overlooked. And I think in a lot of television, most of the moments, if we don't realize that the music is affecting us, that's when you've really done your job well, right?
Right. There's no Oscar for music editing because the best ones you probably don't even know.
Exactly. So I didn't pay that much attention until we got to know you a little bit, except for, of course, in this series, there are so many incredible music montages. And I mean, you get to weave in and out of a very coming forward and being the center stage and then being back in the background with the music.
There is a lot of music in this show.
There is. You had quite a job ahead of you when you got on with Sense8 and having to deal with emotions and action and just the full spectrum of human experience.
It's true. Yeah, I think I sometimes lobby to take music out, but more often than you might think. But it worked. Lana knows what she wants there, and she didn't. Her instincts tend to be correct. I don't even know if they're instincts. Her inclinations are correct about music in, music out, and we do end up with quite a bit. And as the music editor, when I'm just watching, I get, anytime there's a scene without music, I feel very relaxed and just enjoy. I'm not thinking about, are the crossfades sounding.
Oh, right. So it's a different experience for you because you're not like sweating when you're trying to make sure you've done a good job.
Right. Anytime there's music on playing, I'm panicking all the time.
Okay. That makes you a good editor.
Oh, I don't know. I hope so. But.
Well, we do know you're a good editor. We know that. You've proven that.
So, Ethan, can you tell us a little bit about your early career and what led you to this point?
Sure. Well, I met Lilly Wachowski in high school.
Oh, wow.
So
very cool.
33 years ago, almost now. She was a senior when I was a freshman. She was friends with my brother, who was older, and I kind of tagged along, and we became friends. And then when Lilly dropped out of college and came back to Chicago, I was kind of one of her only friends left here. So we hung out even more and became very close. And I met Lana early on too. And so they became very successful, of course, and I was just enjoying their success as, a friend. I was driving a car for 11 years for a job, messengering, and but I was always interested in music and writing music, and I was always writing songs and making horrible recordings. And my sister-in-law actually gave me my first film scoring break. She's a documentary filmmaker, and she was kind enough to let me try to make music for her documentary, which was on PBS, and worked out pretty good. And that led to some more film scoring gigs. Nothing where I could leave my day job, but I was starting to learn more. And slowly, as Wachowski's career kept burgeoning, we always stayed very close. We never really lost touch, which was nice. They stayed true, pretty much family. So
awesome.
They were never, they were never really out of my. We would talk all the time, and we'd visit them on set whenever they were filming, foreign country. We went to Australia, my wife and I did, and visited them when they were filming the first Matrix. I did a tiny, tiny bit of music consulting on Matrix Revolutions, really tiny. I helped them pick which version of I'm Beginning to See the Light to play in the Oracle scene. Nice. Because I'm a huge, big band Duke Ellington jazz fan. So
awesome.
I said, hey, they called me. hey, I was actually literally delivering a package, and I got a call from them, like, what's a good version of this song? And I didn't get paid for that, but anyway.
Did you get credits?
I know I didn't. I was happy to help.
But you got a career.
Yeah.
I got a free trip to LA for the premiere and all the swag and
nice.
Anyway, so then, so next was V for Vendetta, which they were making in England, mostly in England, and just as like a birthday gift or just something to share, I made this mashup of Flaming Lips song with speeches by Malcolm X and Gloria Steinem spliced in, and just sent it to them because I thought it addressed themes that were in V for Vendetta. And I said, hey, check out this goofy thing I did, and they loved it. And they're like, we want to use this for the closing credits. And I was like, oh, well, that's fun. Good luck. And then the Flaming Lips wanted an exorbitant amount of money, which they didn't have in their budget. And they told me that, and I was like, maybe I could try to make a music track, behind the same speech clips. And that led to, they said, sure, give it a shot. And that, after many try, this was October 2005. I remember because the White Sox were in the World Series. I was watching the World Series, making this song, and it came out pretty good. And it does appear in V for Vendetta, and that was kind of like my huge break. That's
awesome.
Yeah, it was like,
I enjoyed that flick.
That was me too. It's pretty good. And I became a little, again, tiny celebrity on MySpace for 2 minutes.
Well, MySpace was only 2 minutes.
Yeah, it only lasted 2 minutes anyway.
You only had time to do that for 2 minutes.
People were like, what's that song? A weird song. Because it's not the first song in the credits. There's a Rolling Stones song that kind of is the main closing credit song. Then my song starts. But so not everyone knew it existed, but there were people like, what is that song? Why? And there's actually some Bollywood music in that song, and the chorus and samples, and it's kind of heavy guitar riff, and of course the speeches, the Malcolm X and the Gloria Steinem. So people were interested in it, but it wasn't available on iTunes because I didn't have a record label, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But it was cool, and so that kind of got me going. Started working with them. And then when Speed Racer came around, I actually had to go back to a day job. But then in 2007, they said, hey, come work on Speed Racer. We need lots of music for like promotional materials and the DVD extra features, and help consult on music for the actual movie. I was like, yes, I will do that.
Yes, please.
And then I've kind of been on board ever since, although I didn't work on Cloud Atlas, but I've worked on everything else they've done. We did one thing people might not know is that the Wachowskis directed the player introduction video for the Chicago Bulls games. I
did not either.
You can YouTube it. I think it was like from 2006 to they stopped running that version about 3 years ago. So it lasted about 9 years, and so I worked on the music for that too. So ever since then, I've always worked with them. I worked on Ninja Assassin, which was my first union editing gig. I was an assistant music editor, and I learned a ton about how actual movie music editing works. I worked under a music editor named Joseph Debisi, who's a great mentor. And from there, Jupiter Ascending came along. I did kind of the same stuff, and then Sense8, which has been my job for almost 4 years. So that's pretty much, it's a brief career bio.
A fascinating career.
It is
bio.
Fascinating.
Oh.
Just kind of like slipped into this career in editing music for all these amazing shows.
I'm
from
very
being a
lucky.
driver. Yeah, that's awesome.
I wouldn't trade jobs with anybody. I really wouldn't.
I wouldn't trade your friends with anybody either.
Oh, yeah, no. That either.
Would you, now looking back, do you see, like, can you look back to high school or when you were younger and see, this would be exactly where I would want to be? Or
yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, 'cause I used to think I wanted to be a film director.
Okay.
But all I ever thought about that was I wanted to choose which music is in the movie. Like, That's all I really ever cared about. But I didn't know music editor was even a career.
Right.
Till I was on, actually, I didn't even really think about it till I was on V for Vendetta, and I had to chat with the music editor on that show to like get the file, sent, and like, whoa, music editor, that's an amazing job title. I want that job. And it was funny. When I was in college, my bachelor's degree is in like creative writing, but I had a supporting coursework in filmmaking.
Okay.
And I would make these little videos and film, 16 millimeter, 8 millimeter stuff. And actually, Lilly appeared as actor in one of my movies.
Oh, fun.
And she hadn't had any success. I mean, she was still a carpenter at the time, but she would tell me, well, maybe hold the camera this way. And like, I mean, it's like amazing, she had amazing filmmaking instincts, of course.
Right.
And I didn't even know. I was so oblivious at the time. I didn't know. It was all just like, oh yeah, I'm a filmmaker. But then it was just she was the one.
Did she know at that point? Was she pursuing film at all at that point? Or
yeah,
was it? Oh, she was. So. Okay.
Writing and
it was part of what she knew, but she was also a carpenter then.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, Ethan, it sounds like editing and music is real passion of yours, but do you have any other aspirations or ambitions to go somewhere else in this arena with filmmaking and music?
Well, I do compose, and I've written a lot. I can't remember exactly that was in the question, but I've written music for shorter pieces, a couple commercials, and of course some of the cues that appear in Sense8. So composing is, I guess, an ambition of mine, but I don't know if I got the chops to do it as like a major Hollywood film composer. It's not really an ambition, but maybe like a quirky, smaller TV type thing be a good
Jingles
composing gig for me.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none when it comes to writing music and producing music,
which is actually perfect for the position you're in right now, right?
It is. If the variety of cues I've written for Sense8 is kind of fun, like stuff maybe the audience doesn't think about, like the little the morning news, the Nairobi morning news thing when Kafius is being interviewed in season 2, like like someone had to write that, and instead of licensing it, I just wrote it, and it ends up in the show. It's little tiny stuff like that. That's really fun to do.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
That does sound fun. What are some of the other little things like that? You got me curious now.
Goodness, there's a lot. I wish I'm not prepared with like a list, but
okay.
Well, actually, one of my more fun ones, it's a longer one, is in episode 205 when they're watching in the movie theater, Lito's movie.
Uh-huh.
The whole first half of that film score from, the movie that he's supposedly in, I wrote that. Like we stabbing the guy in the neck.
Uh-huh.
All that horror movie music.
Right.
I wrote that cue. The second half of it, then we come back, there's like cut away and you come back, that's from Johnny and Tom wrote that score. But yeah, stuff like writing scary music is really fun. Also, another one like that is in season 1 when Bulger is watching the Night of the Living Dead on TV when they come to visit him in the nursing home.
Uh-huh.
And it sounds like we futzed it up to sound like it was, score from that movie, but
I don't even know.
I know.
What movie is that? I've been trying to
Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, Night of the Living Dead. Okay.
That's interesting because when we were analyzing that episode, I kept going, it's really important what's on in the background. Maybe it was just for this interview. Like maybe I was already picking up on the music or something.
No, it's the most important music in the whole series. No, I'm just kidding.
I think it is. You wrote it. It is now to me. I know the composer.
That's right.
That's awesome.
So as you're an editor and you love to compose music and stuff, did you study a lot and study music, or is through schooling, or was it like self-taught? And another side of that question I want to ask is, when it comes to trying to elicit a particular emotion in a human being, does that come intuitive to you, or is that something that you really relied on your studying to produce that effect for people?
First part first. I don't have much formal training at all musically. I had 6 months of piano lessons when I was 6 or 7 years old. And I took guitar lessons for a couple of months when I was about 13. So mostly self-taught as far as the composing. I did take this kind of music production workshop boot camp kind of thing about 2004 or 5. That really, I learned so much about MIDI and production techniques and EQ and mixing and that kind of stuff. So that really kind of spurred. That was right around the time I started scoring films. So that training helped me immensely. But as far as which is compositionally, it's not just instinctive. Like when you're trying to elicit certain emotions on a very basic level, for example, if something's sad, it's a minor key, and if it's something happier, it's a major key. That's again extremely simplified. But there are different intervals of the keyboard that do feel like the uncertainty is a certain interval, and weirdness can be a whole tone scale or something like that. And I've read theory about. I'm somewhat familiar with theory about which intervals and which chord progressions elicit certain emotions. So it's not just kind of plunking away and hoping it fits.
Other people think the same way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. When you talk, it reminded me a little bit about my son, because as you said, you had no formal training. He's in school now for biochemistry, so it's not his career, but he actually composed the music for this for our intro music for this podcast.
I've heard it. It's good. I was wondering. I was jealous. I'm like, why didn't they call me?
We didn't know you, and he was in the house. But he just listened to some of the music on Sense8 and came up with that, which to me is mind-boggling. But I was like, when you said that, I'm like, oh, I never gave him formal lessons either. Like, I should have done that as a mom. But you get there, right?
Formal training is great. It's like, they can't take that away from you once you have it. But it's not the only, you can get by without. I know a few composers who don't have any. Some have a lot. It's, I think it's an advantage to have it. I kind of wish I had known earlier that that's what I was going to do for a career. But I think maybe not having it takes you certain directions you might not otherwise go. I don't know.
Yeah, he actually has taken a couple of elective classes now, so he's getting some of that. But it's not like his career goal either, so it's just fun.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's really fascinating, and I mean the music is just. I don't think we really realize most of the time, like we said earlier, how much the music is directing our emotions when we watch things. I mean, it's almost like it's equivalent to the acting, the dialogue,
the camera angle. It's equivalent to everything. Like you really need a good score for a show.
Absolutely,
to make it powerful.
There's a story. I won't say which actor or actress it was, but when they first were screening The Matrix, one of the actors watched the big scene without music and started crying, I think.
Oh, wow.
Because they were like, this is terrible. My performance is terrible. But then they put in the music oh, wait, it's
really good.
That's a good story to have in your back pocket.
Yeah.
No, we think about that all the time. We like literally frame by frame, which frame should the music start creeping in? What's gonna lead the audience where we want them to be led emotionally? It's nothing happens by. I mean, sometimes you get lucky when you're first trying something, but this is all we pour over this stuff to try to make the experience the best.
So about how much time as the editor? I know you even have some production credits in Sense8 too, right?
I guess I produced all my cues that I wrote. But yeah, I produced the Hallelujah track.
Which is amazing.
Thank you.
Maybe we should just springboard into that. We have that clip here. Let's play it in chat.
We'll play it, and then you can tell us about it.
Sure.
was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to a kitchen chair, she broke your throne and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the
All right, there we have a little taste of that.
Amazing.
It puts me into a trance. I was thinking, I hope I can come back and keep talking. It is beautiful. Oh my gosh. Tell us all about the experience.
Well, I mean, it's a great song. I mean, when Lana first told me that she wanted to use it, I was like, ugh, it's so great, but it's everywhere, like, how can we possibly do this? And then Leonard Cohen died right around the time we were editing it, which is just added to the... But what happened was, this story is crazy. It was November of 2016. Yeah, it was right after he died. We had a version of that song cut into the cut. Like, they worked on that montage for weeks. The picture editor and Lana, our picture editors, I should name them. They're great. Jet Sally and Fiona Colbeck. Love them.
Awesome.
They worked just, like a montage. Like, when you're editing story, I think, as a picture editor, you're kind of driven more by the script and you have a little bit more of a guide, but something like a montage where you have just so much footage to choose from, it's very labor intensive. And so they had worked very hard and they started cutting to this other version of Hallelujah. So this was, probably weeks of work. And we thought we'd have no trouble clearing it. We knew we cleared this song. So when you clear a song for a movie, you have to clear from the person who wrote it and then the actual recording of it. It's completely separate licensing.
Okay.
So we cleared the song, but we hadn't cleared the recording, but we weren't worried about it. We thought, we'll give them a lot of money and it'll be fine. But then they wouldn't license it to us. And it was getting the crunch time, like literally like 6 days from our deadline. This was a Christmas, trying to get it out by Christmas.
Right.
Like, nope. The final lawyers finally said, no, you cannot use it. And like, we were like, our jaws hit the floor. Like, so much work had gone into it. And, I had edited the music also but that was nothing compared to what the picture editing had done. So basically we spent a day like looking for other versions of the song that existed. And nothing, of course, fit. It had to be the right tempo because the cuts are timed to the tempo of the song. And we're just like, we're like, we're not gonna make our holiday deadline. We're gonna have the holiday special in the middle of January. Like, it was really, we were upset, and Lana was very upset. And I just took a deep breath. I'm like, wait a second, we can do this. And I'm like, we can make our own. We can, because we know we can make one we know the tempo and the cuts that we want. So let's just make our own. It'll be great. And so somehow I convinced them to go through, and I literally, the Friday before Thanksgiving, Friday morning, I went on Facebook and just to my friends was like, hey, does anyone know any big choirs in Chicago or connected with? Because Lana loved the choir. Like, that was a huge part of what, like, just that sound.
Yeah.
So I did get a few responses back, like, almost immediately, and I ended up hooking up with this with a choir called the Apollo Chorus of Chicago, and I got the choir director on the phone, and he's like, yeah, I'm your guy. I'm going to help you. I was like, okay, can we record it Monday? So literally 3 days later, he's like, actually, we have a recording session set up, and sure, we can try to do it, but you need an arrangement. And so his name was Stephen Altop. He's like, I have this arranger. He's the best guy in town. He's great. His name's Gary Fry. He'll be great. And Gary was great, and he wrote this. He actually came to our studio and talked to Lana about certain subtleties in the arrangement that Lana wanted, which was great because we didn't have that luxury with this original version anyway. So we make
Right.
it quieter when we want, really carve it out. And Gary Fry's a maestro. He just nailed this arrangement. So meanwhile, the producers are scrambling because they have to pay a 115-member choir. Each of them has to sign like a thing. It's like this logistical nightmare. Loran Turgeon flew out from LA. She's the associate producer. Got all this somehow paperwork done. And so then my job was to make the song, mock it up so they'd have something to sing to. And so they did that. And then they're like, well, we need a lead vocalist. So I sent my mock up to like just my favorite singers, some of whom I knew, some I didn't know, just I'm a fan. And like, hey, can I send you this? And we got a great response. We got like, I didn't want to send out too many because you just don't want to be too overloaded with choices. But I sent about 12 singers, and they all came back with, we had so many good versions. But Daniel Martin Moore, who, suspense is not a factor here, got the gig. He just, I mean, you hear it. It's just, he just nailed it. He's a singer and writer and producer from Kentucky, who I've loved for years, and just his voice it's just buttery and he's just delivery. Oh, I could just talk for an hour about how much I love his voice. But so he did it like on his phone, and like it wasn't the greatest sound quality, but just shined through. And we actually, so we recorded on the Monday with the choir. That was an amazing experience. And then Daniel sent his final version a couple days later. And Lana loved it, and it was like mixed and done. And within 5 days, we had this song that hadn't existed before. And we didn't have to edit it because it was all recorded to our specs. So
Wow.
Yeah.
People loved it, and I'm kind of become good friends with Daniel now, and he's a good friend to have in the pocket for when I need a singer.
Right.
He's a real sweetie, and just it was an amazing experience, and I'm grateful that it worked out because they spent a lot of money on it.
But it is, and I'm sure you believe, and I think it would be true. It worked out better than you could have even imagined. Because, like you said, the song is just a beautiful song, but it is overused. And so, again, before we connected to you or knew anything about this, I was like, why do I love this so much more than I usually like? It's like,
good.
What is it about this version that's making me so drawn into it? Again, the song itself is incredible, but this was different for me.
What did you decide?
Well, right now I'm deciding it was the experience you guys did, the way you put it together. I don't know. I didn't really decide, but I did notice that I guess I'm just like the opposite of, I'm so musically uninclined. It's incredible. So I couldn't give you any kind of technical reason why.
It feels like it hits me in the space between space within my body. Like it just brings you down into this depth of yourself. I can't explain it. It's like this transcendent type of experience.
Yeah, it is. To me, it's like a meditation. Like even when it played just this little clip, even knowing that, I had to come back and ask you questions, I just went very deep within, and I was visualizing an infinity sign going to the music without intention. Like I just noticed myself doing that. Yeah.
That's cool. It's I don't know. It's a very simple, instrumentally, it's very simple arrangement. It's just piano, and there's a little tiny sprinkle of guitar in a couple spots. And that choir is I don't know, they're mixed a little bit lower, especially at the beginning of the song, and that's nice. And you just kind of feel it's washing, and then I think his delivery of just the way he just phrases things is just weird and perfect, and it's amazing. So yeah, I agree. I never really get tired of listening to it. I pop it on all the time just to relax.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, it is.
And you got to be the guy who said, hey, let's do this. You're responsible, man. And that's awesome.
I was a bit of a hero at the thing for a couple of days.
Until the bill came.
Actually, it's funny. No.
I'm kidding.
It was because we had to pay all the choir. But it was funny when we first, I worked on the mix with our re-recording mixer, Tom Marks, and Mike Tholen was our other engineer. And we kind of worked on it, and we all got in the mixing stage, and we're with all the people, about to play it for everybody for the first time. And I was like, all right, this is the best version of this song that's ever been recorded. And everyone laughed.
Truth bomb.
Everyone laughed. And then they watched the scene, and then when it ended, like, it was just silent. People were crying. I was like, no one's laughing now. It is. I think it is.
I think it is. I think it is.
You know, I'm biased, but, but I'm very proud of it. And I'm glad, the response was amazing on the Twitter and the YouTube. And there's there's a YouTube of it with 1 million hits. So
that's awesome.
Someone must be playing it. But yeah, that was a good one. What was the question?
There was no question. It was just talking about the clip.
We just wanted to hear the story about your song.
Yeah.
And of course, the visuals, for Sense8 fans and for me, like, you can't divorce the song from the visual.
Right.
Like when Son eats that candy, it's just so heartbreaking and just beautiful, and all the other moments, and the coffeeist with his mom, and that, I think that had mentioned that part before, but that's a huge part of why I think we connect with it too, because it's right after the baby penguin line from the Lito's mom, which gets me all teary-eyed every time I see it. Come here, my baby penguin.
And that's why I consider Sense8 a masterpiece. It's because it's transcendent. Like, it just hits people with all of these things coming together. It creates such an experience for being human and connecting, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, I like it too.
We'll call it a masterpiece. You can just receive as part of the creation of it.
Oh, no, it's pretty good. Thanks.
And it's just filled with all kinds of moments like this. I mean, some stand out like that, but there's just so many moments on all the different levels.
So when you're working on Sense8, you've been with the Wachowskis for a while now.
Yeah.
What is it like to work for them and with them?
It's a lot of hours. They're extremely hardworking. Like, you hear about great athletes, like first in the gym in the morning and last, that's what they're like. And but beyond that, it's they are extremely detail oriented. So, like I referenced a little earlier, like every, like, this piano note, should it be like 4 frames like later to really hit in the right spot? Like, they're at that level of detail,
right? Which
is, I guess, what leads to the long hours. But we don't, we don't mind working the long hours because the product is great, and they're funny as hell. They're always, making me laugh. It's hard to summarize the experience briefly. I mean, it's an intense amount, of work in a shorter amount of time, but it's great because they know what they want, and you just have to work to get there.
How do you think the humor and just their, I guess, love for the art helps to keep so long hours staying, because you're not talking long hours doing something mundane. You're talking long hours where you not only physically have to be present, but mentally you have to be astute. Do you think that humor, that lightheartedness mixed with the intensity of the work is what it allows you to work those long hours and still perform at your heightened? Or how do you perform? Or how do you take care of yourself? Like, what is long hours? Are you talking 15 hours a day, more, less?
For me, 15 is not unheard of, but not the norm. The picture editors work the longest hours, at least as far as post-production. Production side, I don't have much familiarity. I'm sure they work 24 hours at a time. Post-production, the picture editors, 13, 14, 15 isn't, that's pretty normal for them. It just depends on where we are in the process for, a long day for me. But yeah, it's, the food's good. They feed us, which helps. And I love the Wachowski, but it's also the whole team is great. That
was one of the things we've heard a lot from the people we've talked to so far, especially on Sense8, is how they casted people and the people that you get to work along next to. They're just really high quality, good, fun people to be around.
That's been my experience. It's ever since really started on Ninja Assassin with these folks. And yeah, it starts from the top, of course, because, that atmosphere is created in any workplace, I think, from the top. But yeah, it's like a family. You're all working towards one goal and everyone kind of knows their role, and there's no I mean, you have no choice because you have to do it, but what makes it easy to get through without losing your mind is the people. The humor is a huge part of it. Like,
right.
You all fans might think you do good impressions of the characters, but we do that.
Awesome.
Do one for us.
I can't just do it on cue.
Okay. If it feeds in, we'll be.
We all have our favorite lines and our favorite characters, and we talk about it a lot. I work very closely with the assistant editors, Kat Thomas and Michael Heffler and Jimmy Durante, his actual name. And so we just have fun. I mean, you have to. It's not just this job; it's any job, right?
Right. Well, when you're working in a creative flow, I think creation energy and creative energy is the same source energy, but in the idea that creativity almost fuels you. So that has to help, right? I mean, that's like different than a job, but loving what you do, loving the people around, having a purpose, I think.
Sure.
Knowing that it's art versus just getting something done, and knowing that you're going for the highest quality. All that stuff, I think, fuels us as human beings.
I think so too. Does I can't imagine not, but I got to ask the question. So they have big visions, in my opinion. They have a very deep understanding of what it means to be a human being and philosophy and just so many different unexplored areas in media on a broad stroke.
Yes.
So they have a huge passion and creative vision. They have to be really good communicators, right? Does their passion and creativity spill over to you, and that helps carry you on what they're looking for?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Yeah, there's nothing more gratifying. Like, I don't do a lot of interviews, but I was interviewed a while back, and he was a good interview. The guy was asking me about the Four Non Blondes song. That played so prominently. He was like, "So, is it most important to you that you keep the integrity of the song?" I'm like, "No. all I want, our job is to help their vision come true. If I have to mangle the song, I will. If I have to, keep it intact, I will." It's like, and so there's nothing more gratifying when you're on the mix stage and you get that. A lot of times you get notes, maybe just a tiny change, which means, it sucks. But then when you get that final thumbs up, it's very gratifying. And we do strive, to be creative, but really it's what I've learned. Maybe it's different with other directors because I have not worked with that many, but it's like, it's really, my job is to make their vision on the screen, sound, and through the speakers be what they're envisioning. I might not even understand it when it start on it, but usually by the end I do, and it feels really good when it's on target. And then of course when the fans react to it, that's a whole other level.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So and then I get credit for decisions the Wachowskis made. Like, that song sounded so good. Like, yeah, thanks.
They get a lot of credit too, so you can have a little. I'm sure they don't mind sharing.
Okay.
That's great that you get a lot of creative liberty. I think that's awesome.
Well, there is some. I mean,
you do and you don't, right? Because they know exactly.
You do and you don't.
It depends on the scene.
It depends on what stage of the process we're at. Like, if I'm writing a cue, that I do have, they leave me alone and I write it and they'll come back either with notes or with not. And usually there's almost always changes, but we really try to hone in on what they need for their scene, which is good because I do get to flex creative muscle a lot, but it's always the goal is to always please them.
I'm thinking,
nothing gets past them.
I I say that I'm one of the most surrendered control freaks in the world, but I'm thinking they probably beat me with that, right? It's like you're very surrendered.
We can't say that.
I claim it. I think it's fine. They're surrendered, they're creative, but they know what they want. I think that's respectful. They're artists.
So speaking of speaking of creativity, let's listen to a couple of the transitions. We'll do one at a time.
Okay.
And this one is going to be Will and his dad on the boat.
Oh, yeah.
I kept shocking myself, and his friends are all laughing at me. I quit that summer. He was furious. Like, what are you going to do with your life? I told him, I'm going to be a cop. The way he looked at me, I'll never forget it. Like he didn't know who I was. I'll tell you something, though. The day you told me you wanted to be a cop, proudest damn day of my life.
Speaking of having your work cut out for you, man,
that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
That one. It's funny. I just mentioned it. That might be the only cue I ever wrote where I didn't have a single note. The first. I mean, a note from the director.
Oh, nice.
The first take, like Lana was like giddy with like excitement, and which of course thrilled. That was like made my day.
Yeah, that's good. Something to remember.
So yeah, they had chosen that source music song that played after, and they're like, we want something kind of in the same key, something leading up to it in a similar tempo. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. And it just, that one, that was a good one because I think it does lead up to that fireworks scene pretty nicely. And it's funny at the end of that cue, so the song plays through the montage, and that was a interesting collaboration with, you probably don't have it queued up, but at the end of it there's a doorbell ringing when Lito rings Hernando's doorbell. Mm-hmm. And I actually collaborated with the sound department who in charge of all the sound effects, like, could you please get me a doorbell ringing in D major so it matches? And like they did, and it's kind of like
That's
no
awesome.
one will ever notice it. But the original doorbell they had temp in there was like a different key, like ding ding, and it was like it hurt my ear.
Right.
I'm sure no one else would have cared. You just need a doorbell ring. But they changed it. It's a nice again the transition. So like all those details are gone through, and yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, well, those details are what makes the magic. Like, it's important.
It is important. I mean, just if we take that scene as a whole in its context, you have a father telling his son that he's proud of him, and they're just chilling, having a beer, watching some fireworks, and then you have this music. So you have the nice melody of the piano, and that moment. Brian's got a tear in his eye. He's got he's man crying right now. He's not quite crying, but you see him tear up a little bit. And then, but it's also at the same time. So that's a very important moment, I think. But then it turns into almost a continuation of like a celebration of that particular moment on top of the montage of everything else that's being celebrated. So I don't know. I thought it was amazing because you had to pull on those heartstrings at the same time as create a celebration.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's one of the music cues that maybe no one noticed. Like it's one my wife would say like, "Oh, I didn't even notice there was music there." But then without it, you would definitely have a whole different feeling.
Exactly.
So that was I'm pretty proud of that one too. But yeah, that's
well, in no notes. I mean, that's
That's impressive.
Gold
First,
star.
I think it's the only time.
Yeah, that's something to go down in the books.
Yeah, if you could frame that, I would. I'd frame it and put it on a wall, but you can't.
I kept shocking myself. I love that. Oh, I did. I did the impression. There it is.
You did. Awesome. I almost thought we put a clip on accidentally in the middle of it. You did so well.
It's so good.
Joe Pantoliano. They used to say they wanted to put him in the Matrix sequels so they could kill him in all their movies. He killed him.
The poor bastard. Awesome. Let's listen to a little bit more of your work here. We got the transition, but when we have the pride scene, so I have a little bit of that as well. So
Yeah, there's another tiny one that no one would ever notice but me. But
Now everybody.
Yeah, now
will.
everybody is.
yeah.
Here we go.
It's been here all along. I finally made it. That's what I finally made it Now I'm back alone. No matter where I go, it's been here all along. I finally made it
All right, so we had a little bit of pride, huge celebration into this nice, calm, relaxed atmosphere that Riley and Son always get themselves into.
That's right. That's one of my patented pivots. It's so I think we'll talk about this a little later, but the score has already been recorded before we even start editing. So they had chosen the cue for Son and Riley already, and they loved it. And they had that song, but to bridge between the two, they're in totally different keys. I don't remember exactly what they are, but they're like just far apart on the wheel. So you have to like create this middle passage to bridge through. I don't know if you can hear it. Like there's one note that you find that kind of sounds good with the first song, and just play that for a second, and then you start the new key with that note that blends with the second cue, and just this little stuff like that, like marrying score. Well, both examples you just played are marrying score with source music, which is a big part of my job, is finding those transitions. And also, if you want, it goes into the theme of the show. Like the score music, represents maybe the emotion your audience is supposed to feel, and a lot of times the source music is music the characters are hearing or responding to, and just when those two things mix, it's nice. And we work a lot on combining them seamlessly so they work together, which is it's challenging and it's fun, and I hope people like it.
The music,
I love it.
The music version of limbic resonance, right?
I think so.
I think so.
It's
Yeah. And that I'm hearing what you said about, like this is part of what the show is about, and that layeredness of having it carry over into the music, into the editing of the scenes visually, and the script, all of it together.
I think it was cool because it was pretty early on that we started experimenting with these kind of things. I can't think of one from the first episode of season 1, but it definitely in the episode 2 of season 1, at the end of that episode when they're in the convenience store, when Jonas comes in and Will is there and they meet for the first time, like that Muzak music that's playing in the convenience store is something I wrote. I actually wrote it before. I co-wrote it with this great songwriter named Nikki Lynette. And I thought, well, we need music in the store, and I just put it on there because I thought it was funny, like there's music playing. But then as we worked that scene, we had the end of it, started combining into the score. Like I switched it so the keys would combine. I think when we discovered that early on in the creative process, how cool it was to do these transitions from two different kinds of music, like almost sounding, like they belong together. We started doing it a lot, and it became like this thing, like this real challenge and goal. It's like, okay, how could, like, geez, with Beethoven we did it. There's a few other examples, but yeah, it's fun. I mean,
so is that something that is often done, or is that something? Because it sounds like you did it a couple times and then you're like, this is really fun. Let's keep doing this. So is that done because I wouldn't have paid attention. How often is that done normally in shows?
All I know is my experience, but as a viewer of shows, I don't hear it done that often, really.
Right.
Like I hear it when it's not done. It's like, why couldn't they have written the score cue in C major, to match,
That's because you weren't working on the show.
I mean, these are shows I love, so it's not
right.
I'm not criticizing any other music editors, but I think it's kind of one of those things, like once you kind of start doing it, you kind of get like,
do it. Yeah.
You can't leave that song in that key, like. So I don't know. I don't think it's done very often. I think it is kind of unusual.
Well, you would know more than a lot of us because you can't listen to any television without listening to the music. I'm sure you can't. I mean,
it's true.
For me, I usually notice it if something's wrong, then I'm like, wow. Or if they're trying to invoke a feeling and I'm feeling something different, then I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
But most of the time, I don't know. Stranger Thing I don't know how good and seamless it was, but we knew that they had purposely done like, Edie's music to keep the theme going. That was cool. But other than that, I wouldn't normally notice the background, notice the music unless something was either brought up to the forefront or wrong.
Right. Well, I don't know is it ever wrong? Or
no, not wrong, but wrong for me. Yeah. Like it's not resonating with me or something.
Not harmonic?
Yeah. For me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do watch TV a little differently. Like sometimes I will be watching something with my wife and I'm like, did you hear that transition? That's terrible. They need to hire me.
Right.
But I'm sure that it was all intentional, and I just didn't get what the intent was. So sorry. All the other music editors are great.
Well, we're all, different types of artists, and we have different abilities.
Well, I mean, but what I do, I mean, I'll be more positive. Like the Wachowskis do love experimenting and trying, and that's what leads to these kind of moments. Like, it's not, like I've said several times already, like every detail is combed over, and when you have a chance to make something a little bit better,
they're going to do it.
Do it. Yeah. So that's how we work.
So that was a little bit unusual on how you made some of those sounds compared to other things. Is there any other aspects of editing and sound creation for you that made Sense8 unique to work on or unusual?
Well, yes, actually. So the score, which is written mostly by Johnny Klimek and Tom Tickver, and then later on their mixer and I don't know, he has lots of titles. Gabriel Mountsy is also credited as a composer on later episodes. It's mostly written, recorded, and mixed and finished before they even start filming. So I think most other movies or TV shows, the composer's like the last person on board.
Right.
And they have the picture edited, and there's temp music that's not in the show. And composers compose the music, and it's usually pretty good, and they go with it. But with the way we work on Sense8 and the way they made Cloud Atlas and Jupiter Ascending are to write the score first and have it recorded so that when they're picture editing, they are temping in music that's actually the score that's going to end up in the show. Uh-huh. So that is very unusual process. But what it does, it's mostly a positive, but there are drawbacks. But what it does is it allows, in this case, Lana, the freedom to, either cut the picture to the music that will be, in the show, and also to craft the music exactly the way she wants it for, the biggest emotional impact.
Mm-hmm.
So when they record it, this might be obvious or maybe not, but they, like, the percussion is separate from the strings or separate
Mm-hmm.
from the brass, like everything, you have all these stems. So you don't just play like the whole orchestra, like all the music you hear is usually you're not hearing the whole cue as it was like written.
Right.
Like they'll take just the string line from, in Lana is her memory for which stems have which crazy parts is amazing. Like I should be the one who knows all that stuff, but like I was like, let's look at the second piano stem from this cue and try it in this. She manipulates that stuff really well.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, pretty still unusual. I mean, I imagine a TV show with, that airs 24 episodes a season has a library that they go back to,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think most shows most shows write the music first. So it's kind of cool. But
So would you say that because it's done this way, the music dictates, or the score dictates what we see on the screen more so than usual?
that I don't think so. I think what it does, it's the music, the final, because what most movies do is they'll take the editors or music editors will take existing soundtrack music or score music and cut it in just so they have a feel for how the scene feels. And this our temp music is the music. So I don't know. I mean, because most picture editors do work with music, so I don't know if it to that extent if that is true, but I don't know. I probably don't have enough experience to answer that totally accurately, but it works for us. So and Lana definitely
works well.
doing it that way.
So once
they did Cloud Atlas that way, because Tom Tickfor always works that way.
Oh, okay.
They were like, we're never going back to conventional, film score process.
That was one of my questions that I was thinking, what made them start this? So that was the experience of, they had that experience and then they wanted to keep it. Okay.
Right.
Now, I'm trying to remember back to all of your history, but then have you really worked the other way? Because you came in more fully at Jupiter Ascending, or did you start more fully in other? Have you had enough experience?
I did work the other way on Ninja Assassin and Speed Racer.
Okay.
So yeah, I've seen it both ways,
and which way do you prefer?
It depends. It's sometimes in some ways it makes my job easier because I don't have like a whole world of music to try to like decide what to put into a scene when I'm temping it. Because sometimes the picture editors do a lot of temp music, but also I will temp a scene. But so yeah, it's kind of a blessing and a curse because I don't have to comb through a whole world of music to find temp music. But then I also am limited to what I can choose. So if there's something that's not quite perfect, it takes a little more crafting of it. Or, in rare cases, I will compose something if there's a cue that if we don't have, they write a lot of music.
Right.
And most of our needs are met, through the music Tom and Johnny wrote and recorded. But, sometimes, and then, Gabriel Moutsey, who's actually in Chicago with us, will write music that if it's just nothing, if there's no other choice, So, I do like it. It's definitely given me a different way of thinking about music editing than when I started it. But they're both, there's value to both ways.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's kind of cool that we did this unusual method that no one, it just seems bananas. When I tell other music editors about it, they're like, you do what now? There's no composer like writing like later. Like that's weird. It's fun.
That's awesome. Very cool.
So Ethan, I have a couple more clips here, and these are just kind of ones that you mentioned to me are some of your favorites. I know you have a lot, but we have this part of this clip is when Sun helps Capheus for the first time.
Oh yeah.
Yes, let's take a listen.
Oh man, I wish I had the visuals.
I'm sure you have it in your mind.
I do.
Close your eyes.
Here we go. Whoa.
Yeah.
I do love that.
Oh man. So for me, I really loved the part when Capheus needs help. Like when the music drops, it just gives you this sense of like, ugh. So that was awesome for me. But I noticed something this time that I've not really consciously paid attention to. And because usually, when we're looking at this, there's a picture in front of us, right? But how you added the fans cheering for Sun with the music at the same time, I didn't recognize until just now how seamless that was.
Well, that has nothing to do with me. I didn't do it.
Kudos
but you,
to
plural.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that would be the re-recording mixer for that episode was Tom Ozanich, and the sound designer Dane Davis, who has worked with the Wachowskis since Bound. They get credit for that, but yeah, it's a team effort for sure. But yeah, the sound and music of that whole sequence from the time the bus gets robbed till the end of the episode it's really one of my favorite. It's musically and just otherwise. When people start the show, I think you've talked about on your show where people have a little slow getting into the show. Mm-hmm. Like they don't quite understand what's going on for the first hour or two. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wait till the end of episode 3.
Right.
And if it doesn't click, then, you probably, but that scene. And yeah, the music for me is not a small part of that sequence. And that was one of my, that was a collaboration between the assistant editor, Kat Thomas. I think she came up with the idea for the Korea side of that music, and I kind of temped in the Africa side, and we married it all together. And of course, then Gabriel and Lana, cleaned it up and made little tiny changes. But it's just, that for me, that catapults the series as a whole into like a whole nother level, moving forward from there. So really love that. I never get tired of watching that one.
I had to on a lot of these actually I had to like figure out where I was gonna cut them for the show because they're so good, and I'm like, oh, we gotta get all this, but I wanted to capture as much as possible that showed the amount of transition that wasn't going to take up like an hour so we could listen to music. Right. You know what I mean? So I was able to cut like half of the fight because some of the music, so I didn't get the transition in the beginning, but we listened to the middle of the fight all the way until the end and that end transition. So there was just there's so much there just in a short amount.
That one's fun too, because the very end, the choir comes in, like, he is Van Damme, and the choir, it's like, I try not to, when I have a choice about it, I try not to use the choir very much because I find people, myself included, it's a bit like, why are we hearing choir in the score? I mean, of course we use it in Hallelujah, but in the score, it's like,
right.
It makes it feel too, I don't even know what the word is, too something. Maybe but But that moment, the choir, when he is like, it has this kind of messianic, flavor to it that we kind of wanted. It's kind of funny, and it's also like they don't know what the hell's going on. It's all just, I don't know. I love that whole sequence.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was very good.
It is, and you're right. I think that is a pivotal moment in the series, and whether people are going to go on or not, right? To keep watching.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I first read the script. I've got the first, I don't know how many, probably 8 scripts. Like that moment gave me goosebumps. Like, okay, I think I understand. Because reading it on the page, it's even harder to
I imagine.
figure out what the hell's going on than with the visuals. So, but I remember literally like getting goosebumps, and the fact that the music cue came out so well, like,
right?
It's very gratifying. I think Lana and Lily loved it. So
yeah, I would say that's kind of one of the most iconic moments of the show. I would consider that because it's in the beginning, and it's where Sun's really helping Capheus out like a badass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many iconic moments.
There are,
in the show. But yeah, and then like I think we talked about it in our review of that episode about that's when he asked for help, like when they switched from it just happening to them to participating in it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because just musically, like we try not to use those big goofy brass things too much, because if you use brass has a weird way of signifying like heroism or larger things. So there's brass in there sometimes just doing smaller stuff. With that huge brass hit when the foot blocks the guy, like it's a bit over the top, but that moment to me needed to be over the top. And the other moment that comes to mind as far as the brass, if just finishing the thought, is when Whispers first sees Will in the elevator going down. I put in this huge brass hit, whomp, whomp, like, just because the audience needs to know that this is a huge problem. So, use your brass viciously, but don't be shy either.
It has its moments, and they're important.
Oh
yeah. That makes sense.
Great. I have one more, and this is partway through when Sun approaches her brother in the club.
Yeah, this we wanted to record a whole bunch of.
I did, man. I love the music in the club in here, so I was just like, I could just listen to this, but there's so much more going on, so here it is.
With the Securities and Fraud Division. And this is your warrant. Just come with us peacefully, or I will cuff you in front of all these people, including those reporters, okay?
That won't be necessary, Detective. I'll come with you.
Cool. Let's go.
Oh, there's my sister!
He shot him.
He killed him.
What do we do now?
You get that motherfucker. It's her. It really is her. Kill her!
There it is.
Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, that's cool. The club music, the dance music, was written by Gabriel Maltzy, who I mentioned earlier. He's also like a DJ and dance music producer. So, yeah, I mean that huge, that big descending melody thing. That's one of our iconic, music phrases. And just when the audience knows when that music comes in, pay attention.
Shit is going down.
It is.
It did, because you went from club music to the gunfights, or the guns going off and stuff. So that's a pretty big deal, in my opinion.
Club music leads to sex and violence, apparently.
It can. It can.
We do both in our show.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why Sense8 is known for their badass parties. Like they throw good party scenes, but without this badass music behind it, the parties wouldn't be as good, in my opinion.
Lana loves dancing and nightclubs, and that's not really my scene as a human individual.
Yeah.
But I've been there once or twice, and it's intense. So I think that music's important to her, and Gabriel does a great job with delivering what she's. And they also collaborate with singer who you might hear her voice more than once through mostly season 2, Zoe Wise, who works with us too, who's great. So yeah, it's a good team, and yeah, like I said, there's no accidents. Everything's crafted and edited, so for maximum impact.
Right. It worked. You did an awesome job. The whole team. And
everybody did.
I love that you've been giving shout outs to all the different people that, came up in the conversation and their role that they played, because I don't think that the behind the scenes gets the recognition. I mean, I get it. Like, that's your job. So you're not meant to get as much recognition, and right. You know that going into it, but we do. I'm just grateful to be here and be able to appreciate all of that to you and through you, because you all deserve it. It just wouldn't go down without you.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a great team, and I love those guys. I think people might not realize a lot of those names in the credits are really creative jobs, and
right.
You might not think assistant editor has a ton of creative juice behind it, but it does. I mean, they make all kinds of creative decisions through the process, and yeah, I wish there's probably more shout outs I could give, but it's a good team, and
we appreciate the whole team.
Yeah, what's cool about where we work in post production is that we're also in the same building as the visual effects team.
Okay.
So it's kind of like get to meet these guys who normally we wouldn't interact with, but we get to hang out with them, and the supervisor is Ryan Urban, and he's very low drama, and they have tons of work to do, and they get it done, and it's I don't know, it's really fun. It's really fun. I think I keep saying that. But
so that was actually part of what I was going to ask, just that visualization for me of where you all are. And are you in Chicago for post-production, and you're all together then, pretty much?
We are, yeah. The Kino Works is the name of it. Okay. It's the Wachowski facility, and it's about 10 blocks from my house. I bike over there usually, and it's great. It's a wonderful place to work. It's a cool building. The whole team's pretty much there, and there's red and blue Dove chocolates representing the red and the blue pill in a little dish. I prefer the blue. It's a little, it's milk chocolate. It's sweeter. Well, I usually take two. I have the red one is the dark. That's like the savory, and then I have the blue one for dessert.
There you go. Oh, you're right. The dark chocolate is lunch.
Yeah, exactly. I have a whole strategy.
Excellent.
I'm gonna have my dessert now. No, that was my lunch. Right. That's awesome. So now is the post-production staff or team from all over, and then they come in for that period of time, or is it pretty much most of the post-production team is located in Chicago?
It's a mix. It's a mix. So a lot of the visual effects team is local.
Okay.
The sound team, the Dane Davis and the dialogue editor, Steph Flack, and the re-recording mixer, Tom Marks, and the assistant, Matt Keelkoff, they're based in LA. So it's a huge commitment for them to come and, basically leave their lives and their families, and they, live in Chicago, usually during winter. It's tough, they, travel a long way and they're away from home.
For how long? So most of winter, is it like months and months?
Months, sure. 4 or 5 months at a time, I think. Yeah. Maybe even longer for a couple of the folks. Mm-hmm. Picture editor. Yeah, for season 2, we had a new picture editor, Fee Colbeck, who came from England. So she was really far from home. So she was away for a whole year from home.
Oh, wow.
Which was tough, but the good thing is she's an amazing person and one of my best friends now. So I get to go to London once in a while.
Oh,
Have a
awesome.
place to stay.
That's great. I love London.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The food in Chicago is better, but I think everything else in London is.
London, I first started going to London when I was in high school in the 80s. The food has gotten way better over the years.
No, it's gotten better, but sorry, Fee.
Except I have to apologize too, because I have an English mom and she's an amazing cook.
The food there is great.
It's just different. It was
Chicago's
different.
the best.
Okay. Chicago's the best. You have the best pizza, right?
Among others.
So they say.
Oh, man. No. But it's good. I mean, being local, we try to, be good hosts to our LA, mostly Los Angeles friends. But they're always happy to leave, I think.
Well, especially
of the weather.
If you're bringing them in the winter.
Yeah, somehow the schedules always work out that way.
I have a friend who is a visual editor based in LA, but has been coming to New York for the last few years for the winters. It's like, you guys got that wrong.
Yeah, well, builds character. So.
Yeah, and you love the show. You do it.
Sure.
That's awesome. Well, we put out on Twitter for anyone who had some questions, and we do have a few questions that we want to kind of shout out to you. Some of them we've probably already talked about, but when I ask if you can just add anything if you think of it, how's that sound? All right. So we have City Nickhead, and City asked, can you ask him about working with Tom Tykwer? And how they came up with a soundscape for Sense8, not just the tracks, but the composed part. So we've sort of talked about it a little bit, but is there anything more?
Well, I can't, I know Tom, but I can't speak too comprehensively on that. Because like I said, the music's, by the time I'm come on, the music's already been written and recorded.
Right.
So I think, we've had like phone meetings where he talks about general ideas about the sound. Tom of course is a great director in his own right. Run Lola Run and Cloud Atlas, and he has a new show that's on Netflix now. Babylon, Berlin Babylon, I think. Is that right?
We'll look it up.
So he's of course super smart, and he and Lana are tight and talk about deeper stuff than I even understand. But he important to Tom was to not make the music too specifically international to each place. We do a little bit of it. Like when they're in India, there's a bit of an Indian tinge to some of the music, for example. But Tom I think there was the same ethos that drove Cloud Atlas too. Like when I first thought about Cloud Atlas, I thought, well, the part that takes place in the 70s should be like on grainy 16 millimeter film, and then like the old timey stuff should look in like, no, the important thing is to keep it the same, like those kind of things the same, so that you're just the idea that you're telling one story.
Right.
So I think it was important to Tom with the music to just feel like no matter which of the 8 cities you're in at a time, like you're kind of just moving forward in one trajectory in one story. So time out for African music. We don't do a lot of that. I don't know if I would have made the same choice. I mean, I think it works, but I love music from all over the world. So we try to sneak some stuff in.
That's
as far as the score goes, that's how we did it.
It's a very interesting creative decision. I think it worked out really well because when we started rewatching the show and evaluated it, Sheila pointed this out to me, but we don't have 8 characters. We really have 1 character. And they all have different stories, but we're really talking about a cluster, and that cluster has a story. We don't have 8 individual. You can look at it at the micro or the macro level. So I think that's actually, it played really well into telling one story. Like it's very thematic.
Yeah, I think that's right. It was a smart decision, and if it had gone my way, it would have sucked.
It would have been a different story, and it would have
no. it was clear from the start, like when we started editing the first episode, like, oh yeah, this is working.
Right. Well, I think with, some of the people that did say, well, there's so many storylines going on, I can't put them together. That is one of the critiques people had in the earlier episodes that I've heard of and I think that this then would help bring it all together. It helps even the subconscious say, right, this is all coming together, it is all one story. It's not fragments.
It is. And it's funny when I first come on, like say in season 1, when I first started, the picture editors would assemble scenes for me to like put temp music in. I was using our score, but I would take these isolated scenes, say like Nomi in the hospital with, her mom. So I would temp the music like it had a beginning and a middle and an end, and the music would end when that scene ended. And it worked as a standalone scene, but then when we cut the whole episode together, it didn't. And then when you bridge those pieces of score across, 2 or 3 of the storylines, like, no, this is all one story. The bridge is over. Then you're like, oh, I think it's a nice way to glue, to move that feeling forward. It's cool.
Yeah, because it is cut in a way that you've got the individual stories, but it's always presented, almost always presented in the intricacy of the interaction, not the separate story. It's not like they start with all these separate stories and then weave them together with time, which other shows sometimes do. It's like, no, they're themes that we're telling in each episode.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah.
It's true. I couldn't say it better.
I would not have known 6 months ago that I would know this much about any TV show.
Me either.
But it's fun. We're having so much fun.
Oh, good.
Armor Vincent Omnia asked if we have a chance, and we do have a chance, would be curious to know if any of the song suggestions came from the cast members.
That one, I can't think of any example of that.
That would have happened.
Unless, I don't know the origin of the Bollywood song from episode 2, as far as how that was first chosen. I worked with the second unit director, who's a really great director, Geeta Patel, on that. And Tina might have influenced the choice of that song, but I can't say definitively. Yeah. As far as other songs, no, I know Brian J. Smith is a huge classical music enthusiast.
Oh, okay.
And has talked to Lana at length about Beethoven, and we use a lot of Beethoven in the show.
So maybe indirectly the conversation sparks something. Maybe not.
Maybe. I mean, that stuff, usually that's Lana or Lily.
And you really wouldn't know, because if anything did spark it, it would have been on set, and by the time it got to you, it would have just come from them, right?
Yeah. I think, especially from season 2 on, I think Lana was pretty much, although maybe her choices were, maybe recommended by the cast. I don't know, though. I'm sorry. I wish I had a better
That's all right.
example.
You don't have to know everything.
And the cast has terrible musical tastes. No.
Yeah, Beethoven, you suck.
Well, maybe after I edited it. That's one of the dicier edits, is cutting up the piano concerto. Oof. Like, you don't want to change Beethoven, but I'm talking about the birth scene at the end of 10. You got to do what you got to do.
That's right.
That's one of those moments.
And you're just the man for the job, Ethan.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's one of the moments that you put Lana over Beethoven, right?
Well, I mean, we try, of course, we try to be respectful of the music, but.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure Beethoven was fine with it. Sometimes. Go ahead.
He would have been a great, jazz piano improviser, I'm sure. So.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, we do this with every kind of art, but we hold the person that was associated with it as if they were going to be that way now, and that their creative selves wouldn't have grown with the world,
Right.
So I'm sure he's grateful. Kalabagdano asked, could you please talk about how the songs were chosen for Sense8? And then, because I love the soundtrack so much, it feels almost like a character itself. So let's talk we talked about how they were chosen a lot, but the character itself too. Let's look at that, because that's pretty cool.
That's a very cool way to look at the music.
Well, if the music's a character, I should get paid more.
That's a good point.
So there's that. Thanks, Kala. That's a cool Twitter handle. That's married to Wolfgang, right?
Yeah. It must be a
fantasy.
In the fantasy world of Twitter.
Music as a character is, that's pretty much all I think about for, hours every day and weeks at a time. It's how to, make the music a character. Sometimes it's a minor character, like we talked about, just tiny moments, and sometimes it stands loud and proud, it has its turn. But like I've said, a few times today, it is definitely not something that goes unnoticed by Lana and Lilly. That this is something that is complete. Every piece of music here is very intentional, and as far as being a character, it's definitely on their mind. So know that. Be confident that if you're feeling that's good. That's what they intended.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's and that's, I don't know if that's unique to Wachowskis, but that's my experience. So.
Perfect. All right. We have one more. Leslie Oliver. Could you ask how they chose artists from around the world? And then if there will be a soundtrack for season 2, because some of the songs are not available for purchase. So I don't know how much you know about that. But
they keep me in the dark about the song. I get asked that all the time on Twitter. I don't know. I mean, there's always whispers about it. No pun intended. Whispers is actually in charge of the music. So long. BPO.
Then we'll never get it.
Never.
No. As far as house music from around the world, we don't have, like I was talking about with Tom, actually, we don't have a ton of music from around the world as much as maybe I would like sometimes. But there's a scene in the Christmas episode with a song by Ibibio Sound Machine, which is this really great band. I believe they're based in London, but they have Nigerian roots too. We use that when they're riding in the bus. It's very funky. Nice. Song that actually the temp music for that was like a Bruno Mars song that would have cost more than an episode otherwise. So that was one that I found. I think we just, as far as how we find it, I mean, we just kind of scour our playlists and share music, and I'm always curious about music. I did mention the Bollywood song earlier, which came out pretty nice. But I don't know how it was picked. I'm trying to think. Are there other? Oh yeah, there's the Perfidia at the beginning of episode 105, I think, with the funny scene with Leto and Son in the mirror. And that's like an old like a mariachi band, the Trios Los Panchos. Lilly, I believe, found that for that scene, which I think is a great choice. Yeah. It's really funny and sets the mood. What are there's other music from around the world? There's some German club music. You know what? What's funny? We tried to use K-pop, a Korean girl teen pop band, for the scene when Sun is walking through the brothel. But they wouldn't license it to us because of the subject matter. So
wow!
We ended up with the Likey Lee song, which I think is pretty cool. I don't know if you know which scene.
I know the scene, but I'm going to have to go back and listen to the music.
Yeah, the music turned out pretty cool. And then, there's Riley's club music. I think Lana is more of the club DJ
I was wondering about
enthusiast.
That. Yeah.
That's not my area of expertise is mid-20th century jazz music. So I didn't help too much. There's one scene when Will's meeting up with his dad at the Green Mill in the bar in Chicago. That's in episode 102. That there's this old John Kirby is the name. It's like this song from 1940.
Nice.
It's really cool. I always try to get my little taste represented in there. But mostly it's like just what we like, or what we think works.
Right.
But,
well, I think that there's such, diversity even in the music, which is part of the magic of Sense8.
There is. That's my favorite. Literally my favorite part of the job is how diverse the music is. And that question kind of reminds me, like, I do get a lot of messages like, I have a song I wrote that'll be perfect for the show. And like a lot of times I can't even respond because if we end up with something that sounds similar, then it becomes, some legal problem. But there was an artist, she was from Australia, she goes by the name Stella Rhymes. She said, hey, I love your show and I have songs. Here they are. And they were already, published songs. And I'm like, oh, listen. And I love them. And I ended up getting, at the beginning of the Pride scene that you played earlier, there's a, I can go. If you remember that one. Anyway, her song got in the show. She was like a completely independent artist. She didn't have a label, but just because she reached out and because she was good,
right?
She got in the show. But don't write me asking to put the song in the show. I usually can't do it, but I'll listen on my own time. But
awesome.
Yeah.
This has been great.
It has been a great conversation, Ethan.
Oh, I've enjoyed it too.
Is there anything on your mind that we didn't capture, didn't touch, that we shouldn't miss?
I don't think so. I just enjoy the show, and we work hard on it, and we're glad you love it. From Lana on all the way down, like we read the Twitters and the tweets, and we're aware of how enthusiastic the fans are, and that is fuel for us to keep making the show. So thank you so much for that. And you guys, the podcast, oh my goodness, just the depth that you guys go into is great. I mean, it's like,
thanks.
Wow, people are actually thinking about this stuff. That makes us feel good. And we're just normal folks, and we're tickled by in the response. And actually, there's one of my favorite moments ever as working on the show was last year. They did a premiere of the episodes 2 and 3 at the season 2 at the Music Box Theater in Chicago, and that was bananas. It's a huge theater, and it was like almost full, and the crowd was going nuts. And to be in a room with people, and they were screaming and clapping, and it was so gratifying. Like, wow, because so much of our lives we work in tiny, just on our computer, and we don't get to hear any response. So it means so much to us. I can speak, I'm sure, for all my colleagues that you all are so enthusiastic about it, and someone's listening and watching, I guess, but mostly listening to what we're doing.
Right, just really we're in it for the music.
Picture optional.
Yes. Well, I feel the same gratitude back to all of you. You're impacting the world in a really profound way, and I think the fan base, the depth of impact, it's not a fleeting thing. This is something that's penetrating, and no matter what happens, I believe it's going to continue to impact for a very long time, as long as my goal is just keep it available so that as people wake up a little bit, it's there for them. And I think the impact probably hasn't even started. Even think back to Matrix. That's been generations of people impacted by it. And I think that this is another one of those. Bigger, maybe. Deeper.
Yeah, they're pretty smart, those
They
Wachowskis.
are.
To say the least.
Human. They're actual superhumans, I think. Artistic superhumans here.
Well, let's not get crazy.
Oh.
I added human in there. I did not make them deities.
Good. No, they're really, they inspire me, and I love them, and they're loyal friends, and
that's awesome.
it's been one of the, of course, one of the defining pieces of my life is my, friendship with them. And,
well, and it's gone back so long. It's been, you probably can't you probably can't unravel yourself from them very much, starting at that age.
It's great to have relationships like that in your life, for sure.
It is. I'm very grateful. Yeah, 33 years I've known. Well, man, how old am I?
Not very old.
No, but it's good. Yeah, no, I think, they've been through a lot publicly and privately, and they're great artists, and it's a real privilege to be part of it. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Ethan.
Thank you very much, Ethan.
Thank you, Zach and Sheila. It was fun.
And that brings us to the last part of our show. If you enjoy the show, head on over to patreon.com/livesense8 and go ahead and support us over there, because it would mean so much to us, so we can continue to grow the show and do an even better job every week. And you can always contact us via Twitter at live_sense8. And you can always email us at team@livesense8.com. Thank you very much for all of your support. Thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing. We'll catch you next time.